Despite violent clashes and criticism from many of America's allies, the U.S. Embassy officially opened its doors in Jerusalem today. President Trump's top aide and eldest daughter, Ivanka Trump, was there. The president addressed the crowd in a recorded video message.
Exactly 70 years ago, the United States, under President Harry Truman, became the first nation to recognize the State of Israel. The United States will always be a great friend of Israel and a partner in the cause of freedom and peace.
Dan Raviv is a senior Washington correspondent for I-24 News TV. He joins me now from Capitol Hill. Dan, thank you for being with us. How significant is this move for Israel and also for the U.S.-Israeli relationship?
Well, especially for Israel, it represents a great acceptance of what Israelis always considered the fact that Jerusalem is the historic capital of the Jewish people. It's been the capital of the modern state of Israel, with the legislature, the Supreme Court, and the Prime Minister all located there. And so Israelis, have yearned for the day that a big country like the United States would move its embassy from Tel Aviv. And so they're really grateful to President Trump, a huge majority in Israel. Some people feel it's not going to lead to peace. It's angering the Palestinians. You have a new outbreak of violence. But at least in the short term, most Israelis think it's a really great thing, Tanya.
So has their reaction been one of, well, it's about time, this was going to happen eventually, or great euphoria?
Well, to a degree, it was going to happen eventually, and it should have, and what took you so long? That's true. But everyone knows the political import of all this as well. You have a right-wing Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's been in legal trouble with investigations, almost of the Russia collusion variety in Israel. Netanyahu seemed in trouble about a month ago, but now things are going well for him, especially this. Trump walking away from the Iran nuclear deal. That's what Netanyahu wanted. Trump opening the new U.S. embassy in Jerusalem. Netanyahu and his wife were at the ceremony. One other thing to notice, though, also in the front row, next to the Netanyahus and the top U.S. officials, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, Jared Kushner, and Ivanka Trump, there was one Republican donor. I mean, the biggest donor in the United States, Sheldon Adelson, the casino mogul from Las Vegas. He and his Israeli-American wife, Miri, were in the front row. A lot of people feel that it's Adelson who really suggested to Donald Trump last year, sir, you could keep your promise and move the embassy. And in the end, Trump decided why not. But we do have reaction from a lot of liberals where I am now at the Capitol who think it wasn't a good idea right now. It does not push forward any efforts toward peace. It's angering the Palestinians. And liberals just, well, frankly, they didn't attend today's ceremony. No Democrats from the Senate and the House went. Only 4 Republican senators and about a dozen Republican House members.
Right. Yeah, the optics of putting a large donor in the front row are sort of interesting as well. But as you point out, there has been violence. Dozens have been killed in clashes along the border today, and it has actually become the deadliest day of violence in the region since 2014. And from many corners, Israel is being criticized for its response. So can you explain why Palestinians are so outraged by the embassy move?
Well, I think I can fairly explain both sides, and don't blame me for either strong opinion. Palestinians were really offended when President Trump said, I've taken Jerusalem off the table. Trump thought that by recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, now the two sides don't have to argue about that. But the Palestinians were offended. What about their claim to Jerusalem as a capital of their future state? In Gaza specifically, a radical organization, Hamas, that rules by violence and in the past has often sent suicide bombers into Israel, is in charge of the Gaza Strip and managed to encourage tens of thousands of protesters to go to the fence knowing they might be shot by Israelis. By the way, the Israeli army says it's doing what any army would do of any country, and that is defending the border, that you can't have people approaching, some armed, some not, and demanding to cut the border fence. So Israel claims it did the right thing, but there are critics all around the world who say Israel used too much lethal force, and this actually hurts Israel's image on a day when Israelis love what happened at the Jerusalem embassy, Tanya.
So, Dan, it's not just the embassy move, then, that is fueling these protests?
I agree. It's the Palestinians feeling for years now that they've been ignored and that the Trump administration is certainly taking Israel's side. And when they hear Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, say, even in his speech today at the new embassy, that the U.S. is still working on a peace plan and will be offering what the Trump administration sees as a fair solution to Palestinians and Israelis, the Palestinians in general feel the U.S. cannot be fair. And so the Palestinians say, we don't have an army, we don't have the capability to really fight back, we're just going to do really big protests. Some of us will get killed, but we're making our point. That's the level that we've reached right now, Tanya.
For so long, though, so many in the international community have hoped for a two-state solution. Today, Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas said the U.S. can no longer be a mediator in the region. So is it likely that a two-state solution is still viable at this point?
Well, I still feel it's likely sometime in the future. It seems to be the clear answer. Israel captured a lot of territory, the West Bank, Gaza, the Golan Heights from Syria, even the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt in June of 1967. Well, they gave the Sinai back to Egypt. Israel's still sitting in the Golan Heights, by the way. Israel got out of Gaza in 2005 unilaterally, basically saying, Palestinians, you run it, let's see how you can do. And the West Bank is still being argued over, as is East Jerusalem. So it's a very mixed picture. But, here I am in Washington, and certainly many members of the American Congress would say two states is the way to go, but there's no way to achieve it right now, Tanya.
All right, Dan Raviv, thank you so much.